Hi guys, Olive here today to talk to you about 3 romance books that I've recently finished, and I want to show you a candle that I have acquired. The month of February just recently started, which means that we are now in Valentine's Day season, and therefore romance books have definitely been on the menu over the past week, and also a new calendar month means that it's time for me to show you the next candle of the month from North Avenue Candles. If you've never heard me talk about them before, they are a local candle company to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I live. I happen to know the owner. She's amazing, and every month she's going to be sending me the new candle of the month so that I can enjoy it myself and share it with you in case you're interested. All of her candles are always book related, so it's a good collaboration. But before I show you the candle, I did want to quickly talk about the book that it's based on. That book is Reckless by Selena Montgomery. Now, in case you didn't hear, it's been kind of a hot topic of conversation over the past few months. Selena Montgomery is actually the pen name of Georgia lawyer and politician Stacey Abrams. She wrote 8 romance books using this pen name between 2001 and 2009. This was actually the penultimate book she released using this pen name. This one came out in 2008. It's the first book in a romantic, legal thriller duology, whatever the kids are calling them these days. It's the first book out of 2 in a series. This book is set both in Atlanta, Georgia, and in a small town outside of Atlanta. The main character is a hotshot defense lawyer named Kel Jameson, and she returns to this small town, which is her hometown, after being away for many years because she wants to help out the head of an orphanage there, which happens to be where she was raised. Her parents abandoned her there, and the head of this orphanage, Eliza, was basically like a mother to her. So Kel wants to stand by her side, as Eliza may have to face murder charges for a crime she did not commit. There is one man who Kel meets when she returns to her hometown, who will prove to be both a help and a hindrance as she's trying to help Eliza out. That man is the local sheriff, Luke. Luke and Kel basically immediately have the hots for one another, and they're both looking into this murder investigation, sometimes helping each other out, sometimes keeping information close to the chest, including a deep, dark secret that Kel has that she refuses to reveal to anyone. I can't say that I've ever read a book that mixes romance with legal thriller. I don't even know that I've ever read a legal thriller before. I don't think I have. And I don't know that I've ever read a book set in Atlanta, Georgia. So a lot of this was new territory for me, really fun new territory at that. I really enjoyed a lot of this. It had very smooth writing. I really liked the characterization. You can tell that this author, Stacey Abrams, had a number of books under her belt by this point. But as I get more experienced reading romance, I'm finding that I like a slow burn toward the beginning. I don't like an immediate spark between 2 characters where they're serious about each other basically right away. And that's kind of what happened in this book. It didn't really make sense to me that 2 characters as smart as Kel and Luke would be jumping into a relationship that could damage them professionally, especially within a matter of days of meeting one another. When I first started reading this book, I actually wasn't aware that there was another book in the series. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't really see anything to indicate that there is another book following this one. So when it ended on a cliffhanger, that was a little bit of a surprise for me. I am interested in reading the next book in the series. I would really like to see what happens, but I think I need to give it a little bit of breathing room first. But in the meantime, I can enjoy the candle based on this book that Amanda from North Avenue Candles created. This is Magnolia Parchment and Leather. Like all of her candles, this one is absolutely fantastic. It is definitely stronger than the one from last month, which was based off of The Great Gatsby. It's definitely very floral. You can really smell the magnolias, but that really strong floral scent is balanced out really nicely by the other 2 scents going on in here. I remember seeing Amanda say somewhere, it was probably on her Instagram, that she's not the biggest fan of florals, so she always likes to take any kind of floral scent and balance it with other scents so that the floral isn't overpowering. I know she did that with her candle Gardens of Pemberley, which is based off of Pride and Prejudice. That one is floral, but it's also very powdery. I was describing this one to my mom recently because as soon as I smelled it for the first time, I knew it would be something she'd be interested in. But what I said to her was, it's like you're standing in a really old library and there are windows open behind like a big old desk that has old books and stationery all over it. And those windows are open on a magnolia tree in full bloom. That is what this smells like. If that sounds appealing, I will put a link in the description box below to where you can go and buy one of these. They will only be available through the end of February 2021. Come the first day of March, there will be a new candle of the month available. And at some point in March, there will be a new video from me talking about that candle and the book that it's based on. Another thing you should know is that a portion of the proceeds of this specific candle of the month are going to go to Fair Fight, which is Stacey Abrams' voter rights organization. So if you're interested in supporting that organization while getting a great candle, it's a great 2-for-1 special. Also, just to reiterate, I did get this candle for free for review purposes. I am not affiliated with the company. I don't receive any kind of commission. So if you buy it, I'm not getting paid, but I did get this one for free. But now onto the 2 other romance books I read that I wanted to talk to you about in today's video. The first of those 2 is Evie Drake Starts Over by Linda Holmes. I was 100% talked into reading this book by Sabrina over at Bookish Sabrina. She talked about this in a big audiobook wrap-up that she recently did. It sounded really intriguing, and when I expressed an interest in reading it, she really encouraged me to pick it up sooner rather than later, because not only is it a romance, which is something I've been trying to get more into over the past year or 2, but also it involves baseball. And in case you don't know this about me, I am a newbie sports book reviewer for the Christian Science Monitor, and I've really been getting more into sports books over the past year, so this seemed directly up my alley. The main character of this book, Evie, has a very unique problem. On the very night that she was packing up to leave her husband, who was a beloved figure in their small Maine town, but who was not a very nice guy behind closed doors, she's getting ready to leave him on the very night that he gets into a car accident and dies. So she's put in a situation where she has to pretend to the entire world that she's mourning a man who she can't bring herself to miss all that much. On top of that, there was no life insurance, so she is really struggling to pay her bills. Her best friend Andy knows this, so he suggests that one of his longtime friends rents a part of Evie's house so that it takes some of the financial pressure off of her. This friend of his was a former professional baseball player. He was an all-star pitcher before inexplicably he just lost the ability to pitch. So he's become the laughingstock of New York City, and he would really like to leave that environment for a while. Obviously, things happen between this baseball player Dean and our main character Evie. They are living in the same house after all. But unlike in the previous book I talked about, Reckless, I felt like the build-up to them being interested in one another was a whole lot more realistic because it was more gradual. I mean, when Dean shows up on Evie's doorstep, she notices that he's a little bit easy on the eyes. She notices that he's an attractive guy, but she's not immediately drawn to him. It's not like she can't stop thinking about him. It's not like she's pursuing him. They both have their own respective stuff going on, their own respective losses. So they really do build up a friendship first before they're even ready to admit that they're interested in one another. And it just, even though this situation of a former professional baseball player moving in with a widow in small town Maine, even though that's totally unrealistic, the buildup of their relationship felt more realistic. I really enjoyed this book. Right off the bat, I loved the relationship between Evie and her best friend Andy. I don't know about you, but I find it so annoying that there is a perception out there that men and women can't be friends. It is so untrue on so many different levels. There's this idea that one side is going to catch feelings, it'll ruin their friendship, or if one side gets into a relationship, then there's going to be jealousy and that'll ruin the friendship. I know it's not true. I have had a number of different guy friends over the years, and I've never had one of those situations. You've actually met one of my really good guy friends, Josh. He was in a video of mine a few years back. It is always so refreshing seeing men and women just be allowed to be completely platonic friends, in fiction or in nonfiction. So that part of it I absolutely loved. I also really liked the dialogue. It's very quick and snappy, kind of like Gilmore Girls, which of course I loved that. It's also rather tame, and there's not a whole lot of tension in this book, so I would definitely say that this is a comfort read. The baseball stuff was really interesting too, very well researched. I would have 5-starred this one, but there was an annoying point of view issue within the book that I just couldn't look past. Most of the time, we're reading the book from Evie's point of view, but then randomly as the book would go on, it would switch to a different character's point of view when we hadn't even heard from them at all up to this point. And to me, it read as just a very lazy way to solve a problem that the author faced during the writing process where she didn't know how to communicate something to you. So she would just switch to a character whose perspective we had never been in before this point. And I think if you're going to have multiple points of view in a book, they need to be fairly equal and they need to be consistent across the book. So for that reason, I would say this book is more of a 4.5. I rounded it down to a 4 for Goodreads purposes. Sabrina, you were right on the money. And then the third and final romance book that I wanted to talk to you about in this video is a new release called The X Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This is a book about 2 public radio station employees living in Seattle. They get roped into hosting a new show together because the station is financially struggling. They need a hit. So they have to pretend that they were once together, they broke up, and they are now exes, co-hosting a show about dating and relationships, even though they were never in a relationship. These two very much get on each other's nerves at first, but then they get to know each other, and they develop feelings for one another. And at that point, not only are they worried that they're deceiving their audience because they were never exes in the first place, even though they're telling everyone that they were, but now they have to keep on the show that they're exes, even though they have a new thing going. Facebook status. It's complicated. This was a really fun book. It also had a lot of zippy dialogue like Evie Drake Starts Over, but in this book, it was a lot more current, it was a lot sharper, and more laugh out loud funny. I was actually laughing out loud at this book. It's also a lot spicier than Evie Drake is. I really connected with Shay's storyline in this book because she's 29 years old, and she's been working at this public radio station since she got out of college. It was always her dream to work in radio, and now she's doing it. But now that she's achieved everything she set out to achieve, she's kind of wondering, is this it for me? Is this really what I want? Am I able to change my mind about what I want to do? Would I even be able to change my field and do something else? Would I be any good at anything else? Because this is all I've ever known. It actually reminded me a lot of another book that I've reviewed very recently, Think Again by Adam Grant, where he talks about how valuable it is to rethink what we want at various points in our life. So it was a really cool crossover between those two books. I will say though, the guilt that Shay feels about lying to their audience about the whole relationship thing and the fact that it wasn't actually real, it's really intense. She's beating herself up basically the whole book long. She's questioning her own integrity. She's questioning what her late father would be thinking of her now. It's all really deep stuff when, I don't know, maybe it's just my way of looking at things. I always assume that most entertainment isn't real, and even if it is real, it's heavily produced. So I was wondering to myself, would an audience really be that devastated to learn that this relationship wasn't the real thing? I don't know that I would care all that much, honestly. I'd probably be slightly disappointed, but then I'd probably want to keep tuning in to see how they would pull through the whole scandal. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just because I'm part Vulcan, but I'm the kind of person who kept watching Lonely Girl 15 after it was revealed that it was fake in YouTube's very early days. Please tell me there's someone out there who knows what I'm talking about. There's also a really unprofessional moment at the end of the book that made me lose a lot of respect for both of the main characters. In the way that it's written, I know that it was supposed to be a vindicating moment and we're supposed to be rooting them on, but it just read to me as being incredibly immature. I don't know. I will admit that I can be an overly starched shirt about decorum sometimes, so take my opinion for whatever it's worth. I gave this one 4 stars on Goodreads as well, but this one was probably more like a 3.75. I just rounded it up to 4. I would definitely recommend this one, especially if you like contemporary romance on the steamy side. So those were the 3 romance books that I read for the romantic season, and one lovely candle that will be keeping me company throughout the month of February and probably beyond, because her candles last absolutely forever. If you want one of those, be sure to go grab one before it cycles out at the end of the month. If you have any comments or questions about anything you've seen in this video or about anything in general, please feel free to put those in the comment section below. And if you would like to keep up with what I'm reading, you can find me on social media, and the links to all of my profiles, including Goodreads, are in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you're having a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.